this week I'm going to introduce you to a couple of my friends, but before we get to that, I thought we'd talk a little bit about trainers. When I jumped on my treadmill this morning, I suddenly realised that I always grab the same pair of trainers when I use treadmill, but in that rack is dozens of pairs of trainers. And how many pairs of trainers does one person need? Well, if you ask a beginner runner, somebody that's taken up running recently, surely the answer to that is just one pair of trainers, and I would be inclined to epically agree with that. However, then you start getting into your training a bit more and you start doing your long, slow runs, maybe you start doing some intervals, then you start doing some trail running. Maybe the trails that you're running have two different types of surfaces in there, and before you know it, you've got a pair of trainers for your long, slow run, you've got a pair of trainers for your interval work, you've got two different pairs of trainers for your trail running. So I thought, well, actually, how many pairs of trainers do we actually need to be able to do some running? So I thought I would start by asking Twitter. So here are the results of a poll that I put up on Twitter. I had 102 respondents. Let's take a look at some of the numbers. So the majority of you, 59% of you to be precise, have 2 to 3 pairs of trainers. Now I'm assuming you've got some combination of a road shoe and a trail shoe. Those of you that have got 2 pairs, maybe if you've got a third pair, maybe you've got a pair that you use for quicker work. However, the next biggest majority, 27% of you to be precise, have 1 shoe. And I'm assuming for the majority of you, that's either going to be a road shoe or a trail shoe. Then we get into the higher numbers, and 12% of you have between 4 and 6 pairs of shoes. Now, this is kind of the realm I'm in. I have multiple pairs of shoes, but it's interesting to see that that's only 12%, and only 2% have 6 or more pairs of running shoes that you regularly use. Now, I thought it would be interesting to speak to a couple of friends of mine to see what their take was on trainers and running shoes. So the first person I spoke to was my friend Stefan. Now, if you're a regular on this channel, you'll know Stefan fairly well from the bike videos that I've been making. He is one of the most fun people to ride a bike with. Never an uninteresting ride with this guy. Every time I go out, something fun happens. He's like a child to ride with. So I asked Stefan a little bit about his running shoes.
For me, with running shoes, I like to keep it nice and simple. So I've just got a pair of road shoes, and then I have a pair of trail shoes, which I'll come on to in a moment. For the road shoe, I've got the Untitled Chapter, so I'm a huge fan of these. Super comfortable, big fan of the cushioning. I don't really do any competitive racing, so great for just slogging out the miles. And yeah, I've run over 50k in one go on these, not any sort of hot spots, and I'll definitely be replacing these like for like. And that then led me to get the On Cloud Venture. Didn't get on so well with these. These were as a trail shoe, so I find that if I run over 6 to 10 miles in these, I tend to get a bit hot spots, so I then park those, and I just use those for any runs around 4 miles, nothing anymore, just to wear through them over time. So I then got the Solomon Speedcross 5. These are pretty worn and need to be replaced, and again I'll be replacing these like for like. A huge fan of the tread on these for ascending and descending, and I've got the waterproof version, which is quite good in just the little trails, but if it's just going to be a little bit wet. But yeah, big fan. So I just keep it nice and simple: road shoe, trail shoe.
The next person is a new addition to my channel, at least, a guy called Jimmy Watkins. Now, Jimmy is somebody that I work with at university here at BIM Bristol. However, he in the past was a GB 800 elite runner. He has a PB 800 of 1:46. If you don't know how fast that is, it's very, very quick indeed. So Jimmy raced for Great Britain between 2004 and 2007. Shortly after that, in 2010, when he gave up being an elite athlete, he joined a band called Future of the Left in 2010 and stayed with them, performing at multiple venues all around the world, albums, festivals, you name it, until 2015. In between then and now, Jimmy lost his way a little bit by his own admission, but this week he celebrated his 2nd year anniversary of being completely sober. And he's back running again, knocking out a fairly recent 16:23 for a 5k park run, which is an insane speed. And he's back combining both his love of music and of running with his running punk movement, which, if you don't know about, I will leave a link at the very end and in the description towards. You must go and check him out. He does amazing reviews of albums whilst out running, and they are brilliant. I asked him about his trainers both now and also when he was an elite athlete. Now, I'll warn you, Jimmy is absolutely full on. You're going to be needing to take a breath after this. So take a deep breath and introduce you to Jimmy Watkins.
James has asked me to do a video about how many pairs of trainers I own for running. The answer is 1. Ever since I started running again in 2019, I've done all my running in Saucony rides. There was one, I know I went through a weird phase where I bought a pair of New Balance, but they were squeaking too much, so I got rid of those. So I've always run in Saucony ride. I buy one pair, I run in them until they break, until there's holes in them, and then I buy a new pair. And while the new pair is coming in the post, that's when I have a rest. That's what I do. It's so simple. However, as you can tell from the traction I've got at the moment, there is a twist in this story. Since November, I've been doing all my runs in trail shoes. I bought them to do a race, and then I thought I'd buy another pair of normal road shoes to go with them, but no, I've enjoyed the adventure that owning trail shoes has given me. It's made me look for new places to go running. I get in the car, I drive to the middle of nowhere, and I just go exploring in my trail shoes. So at the moment, I've only got a pair of Saucony Peregrine. That is it. This one pair of trainers thing, it's not a new thing. Even back in 2006, when I was running for Great Britain, I still just had one pair of trainers. I had a few pairs of spikes, but all my running was done in one pair of shoes. I like that. I really like that, and I like the way that I run in them until they break. And like I said, while a pair come in the post, that's my time to rest. Say you're eating an amazing meal and it suddenly goes cold. You don't throw it away, do you? That's what I'm like with my trainers. I have one great run, I don't change them the next day. No, I wait until that plate is empty. Like I've always said, trainers are only important because they're facing forward. Well, I've never said that before, I just made it up just now. But what about all the little niggles and little injuries? That's part of running in the same pair of shoes all the time. You know what? You say you're flying to Australia and you get a tired bum. You don't get off and swap planes. You last it out. You go all the way on that plane, don't you? That's how I treat my trainers. I buy them at the start or something, and then once I've got to where the trainers were meant to take me, I get a new pair. Owning one pair of trainers is a type of minimalism that I like. I'm all about that. I like to keep things simple. Anyway, you probably shouldn't listen to me. I'm just the happiest runner on the internet. I'm the Jackie Chan of Strava. I do all my own stunts. Thank you for asking me to talk about something other than riffs. I appreciate that, James. Remember, like and subscribe his channel. My name is Jimmy, which is kind of like James, but in drop D with loads of distortion. Was that okay? I can't wait to get these shoes off. I hate them. I'm going to put a pair of Crocs on now. Yeah.
You can take a breath now. Huge thanks to Stefan and to Jimmy for taking part in this video. It just goes to show that it takes all sorts. When I was running well in 2015, around about sub 40 for 10K, I was running in a mixture of kind of 5 or 6 different pairs of shoes. I had long run shoes, interval shoes, 2 pairs of shoes that I wear on the track, 1 pair of spikes, 1 pair of Takumi Ren, the kind of track shoe, and I had 2 pairs of trail shoes. And I was running quite well then. But then you compare it to somebody who's a GB athlete who throughout their entire life and career has only had 1 pair of shoes. Now, it does make me think a little bit about some of the musicians that I know. I compare them to what I do as a drummer, and I look at some of the people that play pubs on the weekend or what have you, and they've got tons of kit, loads of cymbals, loads of drum kits, loads of snare drums, whereas I have pretty much just 2 drum kits, a couple of snares and a set of cymbals. I don't really use an awful lot of gear. Does that mean it's right or wrong? You know what? It doesn't matter how many pairs of shoes you run in. It doesn't matter how many drum kits you have. It doesn't matter how many bikes you have. As long as you use them, as long as you enjoy them and it gets you out and it gets you training, I don't genuinely think it really matters how much equipment you have. If you want to spend your hard-earned money on some gear, then go and do it. However, make sure you use it, that you don't just leave it in the cupboard. There's nothing worse than having vintage snare drums that never get used or get recorded or gigged. Same thing with a pair of trainers. No point in spending 200 plus pounds on a pair of Nike Spring rocket propelled shoes if they're just going to stay in the cupboard. Get out there, get running. I'm back training again. I'm enjoying every minute of the minute. I've got to get this weight off, but it's coming off, well, it will come off slowly. I'm enjoying every minute of my running and my training at the moment. So have a good week. I will see you on next week's video, but don't forget, if you buy yourself some gear, make sure you use it.